Welcome to GRE. I'm your host, Keith Weinhold. You need to become financially free so that you have time to be present and live in the now. You are here today and gone tomorrow. There's not much time to leave your mark in the universe. All that you ever have is now, and that's how it will always be. Today, on episode 500 of Get Rich Education.
Since 2014, the powerful Get Rich Education podcast has created more passive income for people than nearly any other show in the world. This show teaches you how to earn strong returns from passive real estate investing in the best markets without losing your time being a flipper or landlord. Show host Keith Weinhold writes for both Forbes and Rich Dad Advisors and delivers a new show every week. Since 2014, there's been millions of listener downloads in 188 world nations. He has A-list show guests include top-selling personal finance author Robert Kiyosaki. Get Rich Education can be heard on every podcast platform, plus it has its own dedicated Apple and Android listener phone apps. Build wealth on the go with the Get Rich Education podcast. Sign up now for the Get Rich Education podcast or visit GetRichEducation.com.
You're listening to the show that has created more financial freedom than nearly any show in the world. This is Get Rich Education.
Welcome in to Get Rich Education. I'm your host, Keith Weinhold. At times, people tell me something like, look at what you're doing. You live an extraordinary life. Now, I might reply to that person and say something like, thanks, I appreciate it. I like to get out and see the world. But do you know what's really going on inside my head? When someone tells me that I live an extraordinary life, I'm really thinking, well, of course I do. Don't you? You design your life, so why would you choose anything else or anything less than an extraordinary life? Especially in this world of abundance that we all live in. That's why you have zero reason to live any life that's less than extraordinary if that's what you want. Investing for income now is a tool for freedom. When you're no longer trading your time chiefly for dollars, that's when you can stop living a disembodied existence, when you're living such that your mind and your body are in two different places. Begin to own your time, and then you can truly be yourself. You need time, and you don't have much time. That's why, in my experience, it's better to err on the side of being too early to things rather than being too late. Are you truly living, or are you only existing in space and time? I think that deep down, ask yourself, you already know the answer. Remember, episode 1 of this very show is called Your Abundance Mindset. But if you're thinking in limiting ways, in fixed ways, here's the good news. This is really good news for you. You don't have to believe everything that you think. The good news is that you were born rich. You were born with an abundance of choices, and then society quickly stifled that. You need to pull your way up out of that. You don't have to believe everything that you think. Since there's never a perfect time to build financial freedom, your conception that it's too early, that's often just your fear that's speaking to you. As long as you've got a few touch points, once you dive in, you'll figure it out. Old people tend to regret the things that they didn't do or didn't do earlier, not the things that they did. The best reason for becoming financially free is so that you can buy time and finally start to be yourself. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for someone you love, because there's someone in this world that needs you to be you. And you've got to be present to make that happen. Since all that you will ever have in this one life on earth is now, you need residual income to buy time so you can spend more of your life present in the now. Look, if you were to ask yourself what made the most successful leaders in the world successful, was it the capital they had, their technology, the people they knew, or their mindset. Which one of those things was it? It's their mindset. See, because if you took away the capital, technology, or friendships from Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, whoever you want to use as your leader, if you took away those other elements, but they retained their mindset and they lost it all, you know what? They would likely go on to regain everything that they had previously. That's why you've got to deeply explore and consider, what mindset do you have? Where did you get your mindset? And then what mindset do you need to equip yourself for the decades ahead? Did you get it from your parents? If so, I'm sorry to say that is usually a red flag. That's where most of us get our mindset from. But most people never learn differently, or they don't want to be open enough to learn anything differently. Realize this, and this is a little hard to say, but the truth is hard. Your parents don't want your success. Isn't that ironic? Your very own parents don't want your success. They want your safety. They want you to have a stable, safe, say, accounting job in a cubicle that only gives you 2 to 3 weeks of vacation a year, because that is known and that is average. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not why ships are built. Some safety is okay, but you weren't built to live a life centered on safety either. That wouldn't even be approaching living your dreams or doing anything extraordinary. Most people aren't living their dreams, they're living their fears. When your parents had you at birth in the hospital delivery room, well, they would be thrilled if you told them at that time that you would go on to grow up to live your dreams. But you know what? On the day-to-day, they've got you living your fears. Once your parents got newborn you home from the hospital all the way through to adulthood, an overly fragile safety mindset that often becomes pervasive, and it stifles your dreams. If you don't take a chance, you don't have a chance, and you've got to take the risk or you lose the chance. I'm fond of saying, don't live below your means, grow your means. It's in your genes, though that probably wasn't part of the mindset in your formative years. I love my parents. They cultivated the right environment for me, but you'll often find an overabundance of safety from yours, especially from your mother. Eckhart Tolle said, most humans are never fully present in the now because unconsciously they believe that the next moment must be more important than this one, but then you miss your whole life, which is never not now. That's Tolle. All right, but once you've made time, you've created this time for yourself, what's next? It is how you arrange your priorities. We think that it's about time management, and it does start there, but true achievers in life make large blocks of uninterrupted time for themselves. Notifications off. Put your phone one room away from where you are, but more specifically, it's about your priority management, even more so than time management. For me, I know that I am going to be living in this same body 50 years from today, just like you will inside yours. So I make fitness, physical fitness, a priority in life. And I often do that at the expense of investing in business opportunity. Now, that's my take. It doesn't have to be your take. That's an example of priority management. But first, you've got to play a game worth winning. It's been said that one question to establish focus is ask yourself, are you hunting antelope or field mice? This idea is simple, but it's supremely powerful. A lion is capable of hunting field mice, but the prize wouldn't be sufficient reward for the energy required to do so. Instead, the lion must focus on the antelope, which does require considerable energy to hunt, but it provides a sufficient reward. In whatever you're pursuing, are you hunting antelope or field mice? Are you focusing on the big, weighty, important tasks that are going to give you a big reward, an outsized reward even, for your energy? Or are you burning calories, chasing the tiny wins that really won't move the needle in your life, the field mice? Ask yourself this question from time to time and use your answer to reset as necessary. Always hunt antelope. When it comes to priority management, you've got to make time for yourself and create better nows for yourself beyond the mandatory loads that you're already encumbered with, because you'll still have meal planning and grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, housekeeping, scheduling, meeting, driving. There's not much leftover discretionary time to make you the you that you've got to be. And that's whether you're trying to be the best equestrian rider that you can be because you connect with horses, you're trying to be the greatest parent ever, you're cleaning up a beloved local creek because you love your region, coaching your kid's sports team, or maybe you'll move heaven and earth to write that book that you just know that you have inside of you. Get that out there. But instead, people make effort to rationalize away their low quality of life. If you're working for the weekend, you've got to examine your Monday through Friday. You're definitely not living in the now. If you call Wednesday hump day, you are not living in the now. The good guys are brave enough to risk investment, commitment, marriage, being vulnerable to family members, and all those things that make the non-doers envious and the bad guys envious. Be brave enough to study and then risk boldly. This is sad. You've probably heard of stats like this before. A Pew survey from last year found that 46% of U.S. workers who receive paid time off from their employer take less time than they're offered. Almost half of people do that. People rationalize away their low quality of life, actually defending living a small, scared, and too safe life. If you need a push to fire up Google Flights, consider that you are going to be happier because of it. That's what the science says. Researchers from the Netherlands found that the biggest boost in happiness around vacations, it came from the simple act of planning one, because then you get to anticipate it. How important is it to build a residual income rather than work more hours? Is working more and working late the answer? Understand that 20 years from now, the only people who are going to remember if you worked late are your kids. Instead, become a time billionaire. Let's lean into this and look at what some others say. Graham Duncan, he proposed the concept of the time billionaire. If you've got 1 billion seconds worth of wealth, that is 31 years. And what he said is that 1 million seconds is 11 days, but 1 billion seconds is 31 years. I feel like in our culture, we're almost obsessed with money, and we deify dollar billionaires in a way. And I was thinking of time billionaires that when I see sometimes 20-year-olds, the thought I had was that they probably have 2 billion seconds left, but yet they aren't relating to themselves as time billionaires. That's what Graham Duncan said. The central point here is that time is our most precious asset. No one ever posts pictures of napping on the sofa on social media. But if you're a time billionaire, you might consider that an ostentatious display of time wealth. When you're young, you are rich. You're rich with time. At age 20, you probably have about 2 billion seconds left, assuming you live until age 80. And by 50, just 1 billion seconds left. But as Graham Duncan pointed out, we don't relate to ourselves as the time billionaires that we really are when we have that status. And most of us fail to realize the value of this asset until it is gone. In his passage called On the Shortness of Life, the Stoic philosopher Seneca says, "We are not given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it," referring to time. That's Seneca. To me, being a time billionaire, that's not necessarily about having the actual time, but also the awareness of the precious nature of the time that you have. Not living that disembodied existence. It's about embracing the shortness of life and finding joy in ordinary daily moments of beauty as well. Let me introduce the surfer mentality. Yeah, the surfer mentality. When a surfer gets up on a wave, they enjoy the present moment, even they know with certainty that the wave will eventually end. They fully enjoy this wave with the wisdom and awareness that there are always going to be more waves coming. And really, there are 5 ways that you can apply this surfer mentality and have this and create this awareness in your life. First, enjoy your next wave and embrace the present moment. Be strategic about positioning in between waves. Thirdly, pass on more waves rather than jumping at the very first one that comes your way. Always get in the water and stop sitting on the shore. And then finally, roll with the punches that life deals you. That is the surfer mentality approach to your life and your finite resource of time. Do not become an ostrich. An ostrich will bury its head in the sand to avoid danger. A lot of humans behave the same way when they encounter new information that challenges their existing beliefs or views. Like I said earlier, you don't have to believe everything that you think. An ostrich cares more about being right than finding the truth. Don't become an ostrich. Embrace new information that forces you to change your mind. And you know what they call that right there? That is growth. A great, actionable way for you to grow with the time you've created and the priorities that you've outlined is to actually do something that scares you. This is exactly what you did as a kid, but that you forgot how to do in adulthood. For example, when you were age 11, you swam in water over your head for the first time. It made you rise up and grow and gain confidence. And I can't tell you what grows inside you psychologically, but we are operating 200,000-year-old mental software. Yeah, that's when the modern human brain came into existence. Our primordial brains are evolutionarily wired to see problems, to detect threats like lions and tigers, and our body still responds to those threats like they are lions. And today, we sure don't have to look very hard to find those problems. Just turn on the news or scroll social media, and there they are. And in this environment, it can be easy to let ourselves be yanked around by our circumstances. And when it comes to others in your life, peers, family, friends, along your life journey, you have to be strict with yourself, but tolerant of others. That's what the Stoic Marcus Aurelius wrote about in his Meditations. He has these exacting high standards, but most people don't have the self-discipline that you do, and it is called self-discipline for a reason. It's not a thing that you get to project onto other people. You don't get to go around insisting that other people follow your standards and your code. You have got to be encouraging and forgiving of other people because they don't have the gift that you have. They don't own the drive that you have. They don't have the appreciation for time that you have. And there's even a saying in ancient Rome, we can't all be Catos. If you remember from history, Cato was the influential leader that championed Roman virtues during their empire. So we have to be tolerant and accepting and encouraging of other people. And if this realization is still frustrating to you, another way that you can think of this is that others never signed up to the codes and the standards that you have, so you can't compel them to do that. This show is Get Rich Education. Money is a tool for freedom. The best reason to accumulate wealth is to buy yourself freedom from anything you don't want to do and the freedom to do the things that you do want to do. Money is not an end in itself, because if you sit on it and never use it, you've wasted your life. Money can absolutely buy happiness, but only so long as you spend it on upgrading and expanding the things that make you happy, or in buying time instead of using it to play status games or on really fleeting experiences or material stuff. Increase the difficulty. If you're listening to this, then your life is probably already on easy mode compared to the global and historical standard. You need to strategically introduce some challenges to keep yourself motivated. Don't ruin yourself, but don't let yourself get too complacent either. Investing involves risk. You're going to lose sometimes. And the good news is that you don't have to make money back in the same place where you lost it. If something in your business or life is losing money, well, then you don't have to plug the hole right there at that spot. Often, it's easier to make the money back elsewhere. It's never the right time. Anytime you catch yourself saying, oh, it'll be a better time later, you're probably just scared or you're unclear on what to do. There's never a just right time for the big things in life. Having kids, changing jobs, breaking up, getting engaged, or buying the property. And that is indeed why you want to err on the side of being too early over too late. Your conception that it's too early, again, is just your fear. And I think there's something important to realize here. Bad things happen fast, and good things happen slowly. And this is one reason why bad news seems more newsworthy, because it happens so suddenly, but it's actually not more important. It is hardwired within you that money is a scarce resource. Don't be afraid to challenge that thought and change that. Don't be afraid to commit. You've got to let go of fear about tomorrow and just get on with it, because uncertainty, that is a perpetual condition. It's existed in your entire past, and it will in your entire future. That's why you feel uncertainty in the present too. That's why you feel it right now. But uncertainty only disappears when you die. We all want to know the future, but the truth is, it's easier to make decisions within your certainty of now rather than postpone and speculate about your perpetually uncertain future. Life is meant to be lived, not postponed. Don't get so caught up trying to make a living that you forget to live a life. That's not a life well lived. Regretting past decisions is an utter waste of energy. Does the past exist now, separate from your own thoughts? No, it doesn't even exist. It's only in your thoughts. Coming up, you'll hear another voice with a more cosmic perspective about life and the power of now. It includes some sound effects to anticipate. Then I'll come back for today's conclusion. I'm Keith Weinhold. It's episode 500 of Get Rich Education. For a lender that's a specific expert with income property, you need Ridge Lending Group and MLS 42056. In GRE history, from beginners to veterans, they provided our listeners with more mortgages than anyone. It's where I get my own loans for single-family rentals up to fourplexes. Start your pre-qualification and chat with President Chaley Ridge personally. They'll even customize a plan tailored to you for growing your portfolio. Start at ridgelendinggroup.com, ridgelendinggroup.com. I'll just tell you, for the most passive part of my real estate investing, personally, I put my own dollars with Freedom Family Investments because their funds pay me a stream of regular cash flow, and returns are better than a bank savings account, up to 12%. Their minimums are as low as $25K. You don't even need to be accredited for some of them. It's all backed by real estate, and I kind of love how the tax benefit of doing this can offset capital gains and your W-2 job's income. And they've always given me exactly their stated return, paid on time, so it's steady income, no surprises, while I'm sleeping or just doing the things I love. For a little insider tip, I've invested in their Power Fund. To get going on that, text FAMILY to 66866. Oh, and this isn't a solicitation. If you want to invest where I do, just go ahead and text FAMILY to 66866.
This is Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and listen to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold, and don't quit your daydream.
Suppose we lived forever. One practical problem? If everyone born never dies.
In the early days of our country, there were only about 4 million people.
And though we reported last year that the world's population grew by 100 million.
And if people keep making babies, then Earth's population will rapidly outstrip the resources to support it. So the day we stop dying must also be the day we find another orb to accommodate our overproduction of air-breathing humans. This need for extra planets will never cease. But the universe is vast, and just in our small sector of the galaxy, the catalogs are now rising through 5,000 known exoplanets. We just need to invent terraforming technologies and either warp drives or wormhole transportation systems, and all will be fine. But why do we long to live forever? We want to live forever because we fear death. We fear death because we are born knowing only life. Yet we don't fear having never been born. While it's surely better to be alive than dead, it's even better to be alive at all than to not ever exist. Religion through the ages has offered detailed accounts for what happens after death. For some, it includes what happened before you were born, a basic tenet of reincarnation. Science doesn't have much to say about Valhalla or Elysium or Hades or heaven or hell or the spirits of your ancestors. The methods and tools of science do, however, make cold, concrete statements about what happens when you die. Upon death, there is no evidence that you experience the consciousness you enjoyed while alive. The electrochemical source of all your thoughts, feelings, and sensory awareness of the universe, your brain, which normally lights up an MRI, becomes starved of oxygen. We know that's you disappearing because people who experience a series of ultimately fatal strokes tragically and systematically lose function of their mind and body as they descend into a state of non-existence. That's not as odd as it sounds. Were you conscious before you were conceived? Did you complain? Where am I? How come I'm not on Earth? No, you simply didn't exist. And if you're lucky to be born, your non-existence before life bookends your non-existence after death. Consider that humans are typically conceived in the single most intimate act of human affection. We then gestate in utero for 9 months, suckle for another 12 months, and require continual care through our toddler years. Afterward, humans attend elementary school to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. In middle school and high school, we also learn biology, chemistry, and maybe physics. We read works of literature. We learn history and the arts, might even play sports. Lifelong friendships germinate from these activities. We may also learn languages spoken by other humans around the world. We participate in all the seasonal rituals that we retain in modern society as a binding force that brings us together. Adulthood arrives. 21 years go by. At a speed of 30 kilometers per second, Earth completed 21 orbits around the Sun, a total of 20 billion kilometers through space. All along, humans invent, refine, and perfect anti-personnel weapons such as landmines, assault rifles, missiles, and bombs, any one of which can end a life in an instant. Wars have taken a staggering and tragic toll on human life since pre-civilization. Yet even excluding organized armed conflict, humans find reasons to murder other humans at a rate that exceeds 400,000 per year. Yes, worldwide, humans commit homicide more than 1,000 times per day. Do you really know how precious life is? The total number of people who have ever been born is about 100 billion. Yet the genetic code that generates viable versions of us is capable of at least 10 to the 30th variations. That astronomically huge number is a 1 followed by 30 zeros, providing 1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,0 them all, and eventually we end up with you again, or at least your twin. But that won't happen anytime soon. So far, our branch of the Tree of Life has produced no more than 0.00000000000001% of all possible humans, forcing the conclusion that most people who could ever exist will never even be conceived. Each of us, for all practical purposes, is unique in the universe, now and forever. Being alive is the time to celebrate being alive, every waking moment. All along the way, why not strive to make the world a better place today than yesterday, simply for the privilege of having lived in it? On my deathbed, I'd be sad to miss the clever inventions and discoveries that arise from our collective human ingenuity, presuming the systems that foster such advances remain intact. That's what fueled the exponential growth of science and technology in my lifetime. I'd further wonder whether civilization's arc of social progress will continue, with all its fits and starts, and thus reward any time traveler from the oppressed spectrum of humanity who chose to visit the future rather than the past. On the whole, I don't fear death. Instead, I fear a life where I could have accomplished more. An epitaph worthy of a tombstone comes from the 19th century educator Horace Mann. I beseech you to treasure up in your hearts these my parting words. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. Our primal urge to keep looking up is surely greater than our primal urge to keep killing one another. If so, then human curiosity and wonder, the twin chariots of cosmic discovery, will ensure that starry messages continue to arrive. These insights compel us, for our short time on Earth, to become better shepherds of our own civilization. Yes, life is better than death. Life is also better than having never been born. But each of us is alive against stupendous odds. We won the lottery only once. We get to invoke our faculties of reason to figure out how the world works. We also get to to smell the flowers. We get to bask in divine sunsets and sunrises and gaze deeply into the night skies they cradle. We get to live and ultimately die in this glorious universe.
That's Neil deGrasse Tyson on the significance of life, death, and the power of now. Horace Mann said, "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." Life feels ordinary, but in fact, it's incredible that you overcame tremendous odds to have your one precious life. In order to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents. You needed 32 third great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents, 128 fifth great-grandparents, 256 sixth great-grandparents. To be born, you needed 512 seventh great-grandparents, 1,024 eighth great-grandparents, and 2,048 ninth great-grandparents. For you to be born and live today from 12 previous generations, you needed a sum total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. Think about what they overcame to produce you. How many struggles did they have? How many battles? How many difficulties? How much sadness did they have? How much happiness? How many love stories created you? How many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment? The past is history. The future is a mystery, and this moment is a gift. That's why they call this gift the present. Spend your time where time disappears. Your work should feel like play. Your passion should feel like flow, with people to make hours feel like minutes. The more present you are, the quicker the present goes. That's the paradox. A full life goes fast, but in the end, time that flies is time well spent, and a life that flies by is a life well spent. At least here on Earth, all you've got is one life and one shot. You shouldn't fear death. You should fear a life where you could have accomplished more that fulfills your potential and aligns with your soul. You're here today and gone tomorrow. You've got now to go leave your dent in the universe. There's no time to wait. You have less time remaining in your life than when you started listening to me today. All that you ever have is now. Always. Don't quit your daydream.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Get Rich Education, LLC exclusively.
The preceding program was brought to you by your home for wealth building, GetRichEducation.com.